actually had to get Michelin in to design a custom tyre, as obviously nobody made anything like this. So back to the question, how on earth was it steer? Well, they actually didn't need very much for the tyre, because of the fact that they are very close together. Get this, in a normal rectangular platform racing car, and you go through a corner, the majority of the load transfers to the outside. So through Cobb's Corner at Silverstone, the majority of the car's weight is leaning on the outside tyres, meaning the inside tyres are comparatively unloaded. This means that one front tyre is having to do the majority of the turning, whereas the Delta Wing has two tyres in the middle, and even in the most heavily loaded corner, the loads across the tyres are pretty even, meaning that it's able to make the most of the tyres that it actually has. Then add in Ben Baldwin's favourite thing, balance forces, and the thing is supposed to work really well. The idea being that the front axle is a long way from the rear, so although the turning force may be less, the front has more leverage over the rear. So in theory, this works. But we spoke to one of the drivers of this thing to see if that was actually the case. But we'll bring him in a little while. Although the front of the car is the really striking part, it's the rear that has a lot to do. It has the 300 horsepower turbo 4-cylinder engine from the Nissan Juke, with a very light 5-speed gearbox, chosen over the traditional 6-speed because of its weight. There is a bizarre story to the engine here, but I'll get back to that. The shape of the car gave it the low drag slipstream shape that allowed the car to match the LMP tubes down the straight. But the key to keeping up with the cars out of the corner was to get the weight right down, and the designers did do that. Where the Audi LMP1 car at the time was weighing in at 910 kilograms, the Nissan weighed just 500. But there was the fact that the LMP1 had four-wheel drive when using their hybrid out of the corners. So the Nissan used a very clever mechanical torque vectoring system. The idea is that you're trying to apply exactly the right power to the grip of the tyre, minimising wheel spin. And again, this system was incredibly complex and ahead of its time. Rather than a typical torque vectoring system that essentially brakes wheels when the engine is applying too much power, the Diff had a clever planetary gear system that varied power across the two tyres. Remember me mentioning the engine? Well, the project wasn't Nissan's idea. They joined later with sponsorship and the agreement that they would provide the engine, enabling them to use it as a marketing exercise for their line of more efficient combustion engines. And in the marketing material, they said,
the engine for the Delta Wing is a Nissan 1.6 PIGT turbo, very similar in structure to the engines that we got in our Duke product.
But supposedly, the only part of the engine that was shared with the Duke was the throttle body. The rest was apparently entirely made to order for this car, with very different specifications to the Duke. Many people speculated that it was actually a Chevy engine out of their World Touring car, but it seems that the engine was actually entirely built by RML. Anyway, that can be sometimes how these things go in marketing around motorsports. Back to the design. You see how clever this thing is, and in testing, it seemed to be performing incredibly. However, at the time, they had one big issue. Exactly where do you race a car like this? Initially, they made the bold call to pitch the car to IndyCar. Yeah, there could have been a full grid of these racing around the road and oval courses in the US. However, unsurprisingly, IndyCar stuck with the Dallara chassis they had been used to. Seems they like their rectangular cars. Then they targeted Le Mans and sports car racing, initially coming out with a closed cockpit design, but later pivoting to an open top so they could use the carbon tub from the abandoned Aston Martin AMR1 LMP1 project. And it sounds like they literally had spare tubs lying around in the old Aston HQ. So the Delta Wing project bought them and saved themselves tens of thousands in crash testing. Even then, Le Mans wouldn't let them join the LMP1 or LMP2 class, only offering them the Garage 56 spot, the spot held for experimental vehicles. And so it was only competing against itself. Once they got the spot, there were loads of bizarre restrictions in place for the team, such as they had to run wing mirrors, despite not needing them, which according to the team added 8% more drag. They were also given a lap time that they were not allowed to beat, although they were able to run at LMP2 pace with half the power. And so Nissan decided to crack on anyway. They were plagued with issues. The torque vectoring system didn't work, so they ran the race with essentially an open dip, meaning they were really slow in traction zones. Then there wasn't cornering ability. Despite everything Nissan said about the car being more efficient through the corners, Delta Wing was only the 29th fastest car through the fourth curves, meaning it was slower than the LMP1 and LMP2 fields through the faster corners. And it was 40-bit fastest through the fourth chicane, the tight chicanes at the end of the lap. And it seems this was down to the car not dealing with the curves very well. Then, 6 hours into the race, under safety car conditions, the LMP1 Toyota of Nakajima took out the Delta Wing whilst trying to warm its tyres. And it seems like the Toyota just didn't see the Delta Wing in its mirrors. And really, you can't blame them. The car is tiny and was painted entirely black. Even after being put in the wall, driver did his absolute best to get the car back. When it wouldn't drive, he tried to fix the car using the tools the team were passing him through the fence. But unfortunately, the car was too far gone. Despite this failure at Le Mans, Nissan decided to keep trying, developing the car to go endurance racing in the US. And one of the test and development drivers was my mate Lucas. Interestingly, Lucas didn't drive at Le Mans because he was driving an LMP2 car with someone you might know, Martin Brundle and his son Alex. Anyway, I gave Lucas a call to see what this thing was like to drive.
Well, my name is Lucas Ortone, former racing driver for Nissan, and yeah, I had the chance to develop and drive for Delta Wing project back in 2012, and yeah, it was a crazy project. My first impression was the long drag that had this car. It was really fast on high-speed corners, but really challenging and at the slow corners. That's when we had really issues, no traction and stability. I really touched the wheel, the car was really tight to the corner. It was quite snappy.
Now, I really wasn't expecting Lucas to say that. You would have thought that those front tyres compared to the rear would mean that the car just understeered. Looking at the car, I thought it would be really difficult to get it into the corner. But Lucas said the absolute opposite. The car was snappy, so it almost had too much front grip. I suppose that's why I'm not a car designer.
Enterprise is ready when you are. For all the, are we there yet? And look at that! The anticipation and conversations in a vehicle that came from Enterprise. With the peace of mind of our complete clean pledge, curbside rentals, and low-touch transactions. Plus so many vehicles of all kinds. So you can relax and focus on the moment. All of them. Enterprise, connecting you to all the places you love.
This aero package we have underneath the chassis, and it really worked well in high-speed corners. It was very different to what I was used to a GT car or to a normal standard LMP2 car. But yeah, once you get used to it, it was pretty fast and pretty fun to drive. When I raced in the Le Mans. But then in the slow corners, that's where we have the biggest difference and the biggest lack of performance. The rear inside wheel was spinning, and the issue we had was with this torque vectoring and with this traction on exit of the corner. Where you try to put the throttle in. The inside wheel was spinning, and then the traction control was coming too hot and too hard.
And that brings us to the Pet in Le Mans, the 10-hour endurance race at Road Atlanta, which is a great circuit. And this time, Lucas drove in the race, and he said there was one really tough thing to get used to.
When you need to go over the curve, that's where the car struggles most, because when you see the car, you put the rear wheels on the curve, but the front wheels are on track, So that's another thing you have to get used to, and that was upsetting the car a lot, because we had the rear wheels touching the curve, over the curve and bouncing, but the front wheels were on the ground, so the car tried to lose the momentum and to lose the stability, and then that upset the aerodynamic of the car.
Despite this, they really got the car working at Road Atlanta.
It was really great in the Le Mans. With this fifth position, and after that massive crash we had in the test, with Gunnar driving and crashing with a Porsche that made a big mistake to us. But yeah, we had a really clean race.
And the Delta Wing was quick. They really got the car working well, but they were hurt by something else. The owner of the team at the time, Don Panos, owned the track at Road Atlanta and the American Le Mans series that ran the Pet Le Mans race. They stole